Hi everyone, you're watching the Virtual Amicus and I'm Jay Lodha. So today's topic for discussion would be on artificial intelligence patent laws. Now that's a very interesting subject. And just to give you all a brief introduction about the subject, now what do we mean by artificial intelligence? It could refer to, broadly speaking, a theory and development of certain computer systems that can perform tasks that normally require human intelligence, which include speech recognition, decision making, visual reception, etc. Now, what do we mean by a patent? It is an exclusive right that is granted for an invention. It is governed by the Patents Act of 1970, which is the governing law as far as in our country is concerned. And the criteria for patentability of inventions comprises of a three-level test that includes absolute novelty, inventive step, and industrial application. Now, artificial intelligence is definitely capable of solving complex problems and issues, improves decision making, as well as developing new products. It obviously uses certain algorithms or certain programs that enable them to learn and develop through analyzation of information without human intervention. Now, any invention for that matter that absolutely absolves any kind of human supervision or intervention can definitely have negative consequences. So there has to be certain measures that need to be taken as far as promotion of transparency or accountability is concerned, so as to achieve ultimately the objective of economic and social welfare. Now, joining us today is a very distinguished attorney in the field of IPR. He obviously needs no formal introduction, but just to give you all a brief introduction about our amicus for today's session, today we are joined by Mr. Hemant Thadani. He is currently practice head intellectual property at Crawford Bailey and Company, advocates and solicitors in Mumbai, and he heads the IP practice there. He has handled a wide spectrum of commercial disputes, predominantly patents, trademarks, copyright, design, cyber laws, data protection, privacy law, internet related laws, media, entertainment law, etc., before the Honorable Bombay High Court and other forums in India. He has, to his credit, immense experience of handling high profile clients, both national and international, across a wide range of business sectors such as technology, telecommunication, media, pharmaceuticals, FMCGs, to name a few. Academically, he holds a master's degree in intellectual property and technology law from Queensland University of Technology, Brisbane, Australia, which is offered in joint collaboration with the United Nations World Intellectual Property Organization, and a bachelor, and also holds a bachelor's degree in science and law from Gujarat National Law University, Gandhinagar, India. So thank you so much, sir, for taking out time for spoiling your Sunday plans. And this topic is definitely very interesting. So if you want to say something as your opening remark before we start with our session.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jay, for such a generous introduction. And I would like to express my gratitude for inviting me and for having me today, for making the viewers aware of this interesting topic, which is doing rounds since many years. But yes, I mean, recently it has grabbed a lot of attention. So I would like to cover the artificial intelligence in the context of patent law, how the protection of AI devices takes place in the under the current patent law regime in India, and also the sort of AI devices which are like around us, and we are using them. We may not be aware that those are patented device, or they may qualify as patent subject matter. So first, I will cover some of the basics of patent law, considering the legal requirement of the patentability, and then I'll come on to what sort of AI devices are there, and the application of AI devices in India and across the world.
Very well, sir. So sir will be sharing a slide presentation along with this presentation of his. And so the stage is set, sir. The floor is all yours. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Jay. So I've just shared my screen, if it is visible.
Perfectly fine, sir.
Yeah, so I mean, intellectual property as a subject matter doesn't need much introduction. It's we all know it's a property which is a creation of mind. There are certain properties which falls in the basket of intellectual property. You have patent, trademark, copyright, design. You have geographical indication, and you have confidential information. These are the broad properties which are which form part of the intellectual property set. And if I may briefly explain them, so patent is again a negative right which is given to an invention which satisfies the criteria of patentability under the Patents Act. I'll come on to the criteria in the next few slides. As far as trademarks are concerned, these are brand identifiers. We have in respect of different goods or services, we have Samsung, Apple, we have Toshiba, we have HP. All these are brands which identify a particular product or a particular service which is given under a particular brand name. Copyright is given in respect of a wide range of work. So you have artistic work, which could be for paintings or sculptures. It could be for photographs or images as well. Then you have literary work, which could be for computer software programs, the source code of the computer programs. Then you have novels or literature written. Those can also form a copyright under the Copyright Act. Similarly, you have cinematograph work or sound recordings, which is essentially the web series or the movies that you see. Sound recording is the music that you listen to. Those are essentially also work under the Copyright Act, which can be protected. Design is something which is an aesthetic creation, which essentially something which appeals to the eye. So it's a design. It could be design of any product. It could be a cell phone. It could be a washing machine. It could be a pencil also. But as long as it satisfies the criteria of design protection, that is your, it should be a unique and novel design. So it can form part of the design protection, which is given under the Design Act. GI is essentially something which is related to a particular area. Because of the origin of that area, it could acquire certain distinctiveness because of the area. So you have Darjeeling tea, you have Mahabaleshwar strawberries, you have Chanderi silk saree. So there are different geographical indications pertaining to different areas. Now, all these properties which I have spoken about, these are codified under the Indian laws, and those can be protected under these acts. Now, the last one which you are seeing is your confidential information. This is something which is not codified. It is based on the common law principle of tort, and it is protected for information which has a commercial value. And if that information is disclosed under confidence, then a person may have legal remedy under the common law doctrine to approach the court and obtain necessary orders. So these are essentially the properties which are there under the intellectual property basket. Coming back to the patent right, I mentioned that this is a negative right which is given to the owner of the patent. Now, by negative right, what it means is that it can exclude everybody except the owner of the patent. So this negative right is for a certain amount of time, that is 20 years from the date of application. It's a territorial right. So, so wherever you have to get a patent, you have to apply in that particular territory. So if I have a patent in India, I can only enforce the patent in India. If I want to go outside India, then I have to separately apply and separately get protection in that particular territory. Again, it's an assignable and or licensable right. So just like normal immovable properties, it can be assigned and transferred, or it can also be licensed to somebody. Just like those properties. Now, the fundamental aspect of patent law is to incentivize the innovators. Now, what will innovators get if they are creating or if they are investing a lot of money and efforts in developing new technologies? So the incentivization is essentially the monopoly given to the inventors for a period of 20 years. Now, in return, what the public gets is the invention. Now, after 20 years, what happens is when the patent expires, it falls into the public domain, and anybody can exercise that invention based on the patent application that is filed. So this is essentially what the patent right is. Talking about some examples of patent and other IPs. Now, before I proceed to do that, so I'll try and cover some key terms which are there in the Patent Act. Now, patent, as I mentioned, is essentially an invention granted under the Patent Act. So now, what an invention is, invention could be for any product or any process that is new It involves an inventive step, and it is capable of industrial application. Now, what does that mean? Now, it is essentially the patentability criteria under the Patents Act. So, threefold criteria, which has to be fulfilled for an invention to qualify as a patent. Now, as far as new product or process means, it has to be new. It should not exist before it has not existed in the past. So that would something that would be new. That then only it can qualify as a invention under the Patent Act. Second criteria is an inventive step. Now, inventive step is something which is an advancement of technology. So it is a contribution over and above what is the existing state of affairs. So let's say I have a landline telephone. So a mobile phone would necessarily be an advancement of technology of the landline phone. So that is an inventive step over and above the existing technology, let's say the landline phone. So that is an inventive step. As far as the third criteria is concerned, that is the industrial application or utility. So it means that it should be capable of being manufactured, or it would have some utility in the market. So that is something which can be patented. So all three categories or all three conditions combined, one can obtain a patent for any invention. Now, as again, there's an example which is a telescope. Now, telescope can be used to see things which are far from us. So you can see different, you can see stars or moons from the telescope. But what you are discovering with the telescope, that is not something which you can patent. But a device which is used for seeing those things, then that can be a subject matter of patent. Now, this is an example of multiple IP protection in the product. So you have the design of a bottle, then you have a trademark parachute. There's an artistic work parachute, which is on top of it is a coconut tree. So that could qualify as an artistic work under the Copyright Act. Then you have patent for closing mechanism, which is of the lid. That can form part of the patent protection. So in this manner, I mean, there can be multiple IP protections in a single product. There's an interesting example for patent. This is a pizza saver. We may have seen it a lot of times. What it does is it essentially protects the pizza from the of the lid, from the sealing of the lid, from touching the pizza layer. So what it is essentially a protector of the pizza. So this is again a patent which was granted in 1985. Now, next one is an inventive step, or rather an innovation of the earlier one. So what is this is again a pizza saver, but it is attached with a knife. So one of the legs is actually a serving aid, which can aid a user to cut a pizza as well, apart from protecting the pizza content from the lid. So these are some of the examples of patents which have been granted, or which can be granted, or which can be a subject matter of patent. Now, what sort of patents can be granted in India? Now, in India, the Patent Act does not define what is patentable subject matter. By what sort of patents are or inventions can be patented. Rather, what it does is it gives you a list of inventions which cannot be patented. So there is essentially Section 3 and Section 4. So it contains a list of inventions. So for example, anything which is contrary to natural laws, for example, Newton's laws of motion, so that cannot be protected. Again, you may have something, for example, you may create a poison for killing people, or you may create a device for killing people. So that would be contrary to public order and morality. So that cannot be protected under the Patents Act. Similarly, in the context of artificial intelligence, there is a provision which defines the criteria for patentability. So the sort of inventions that cannot be patented under the Patents Act. So you have Section 3K, which prohibits patenting of a mathematical or business method, or a computer program per se, or algorithms. So what it means is that a mathematical method or a business method cannot be protected under the Patents Act. Similarly, you have computer programs per se, or algorithms which cannot be protected. So you have Pythagoras theorem. So what findings you are coming up with through this theorem, you cannot protect that under the Patents Act. Similarly, a business method, a method of, let's say, selling goods online or offline, or for that matter, even conducting goods or providing services through an app, that cannot be a subject matter of patent, because that would qualify as a business method in the Indian patent law. Then you have the third one, the third limb in this subsection, which is the computer program per se. Now, what does per se mean is by itself. So computer program by itself cannot be patented. So you have Microsoft Office, you have Adobe Acrobat Reader, or any other software for that matter, which is purely performing computer functions. So that cannot be patented under the Patent Act, because this is specifically prohibited. Then again, you have algorithms which cannot be patented under the Patents Act. So algorithm could be for anything. It could be for division or addition or subtraction or multiplications of integers, or any other numbers for that matter. So or for algorithm for conducting anything else can also be, it has to pass the test laid down under the section 3K. Then only it can be eligible for patenting. So this, in the light of this provision, I will move on to the artificial intelligence part, how and what sort of inventions are protected and which field they are protected. Now, as far as AI is concerned, the initial discussions actually date back to the 1950s, where the term was first mentioned in the Dartmouth Summer Research Project on Artificial Intelligence. So that was the earliest when a few researchers, when they had met and they had done a research project on the artificial intelligence. That was the first discussion on artificial intelligence. As far as the AI device is concerned, I mean, it's, as the name suggests, it's an artificial intelligence. So something which is artificially created to aid the human and to essentially assist the human beings for doing a work or to performing a task. That is an artificial intelligence. And it is what it tries to do is, we are trying to emulate the human capabilities of mind, and for even analytical skills and logical skills, we're trying to emulate them in the artificial intelligence. As far as numbers go, there are around 340,000 patents all across the world in respect of AI technologies all across the world. I mean, I understand, I mean, it's been doing rounds since several years, but it's been there for quite some time. And there are a number of patents which are pending or granted in this technology area. Now, one of the key factors in AI technology is the data, because a lot of time there is machine learning involved. So a lot of data is being fed. So because of the revolutionization of data, we have seen a lot of AI devices. Now, just like you have software in general, we have different applications. It can be for word processing, it can be for listening to songs, it can be for watching movies. Similarly, AI devices can be in multiple applications, like from banking, finance to agriculture, and you have even home appliances are there. So there are different applications in different areas, and I would say the possibilities are just infinite, and there are many applications which you'll see. Now, as far as the present requirement under the Patents Act is concerned, AI is generally embedded in the hardware, like the software is embedded in the hardware. It may perform certain functions which may emulate an AI, or which may emulate an intelligence of a human being. So in that sense, it can be protected under the Patents Act. So those inventions are generally called as computer-related inventions or computer-implemented inventions. There have been a number of examples where patent protection has been granted in respect of AI devices. I will come on to those examples in the next few slides. Now, what sort of categories are there in the artificial intelligence? You have the augmented reality, you have biometrics, you have character or speech recognition, you have robotics, you have distributed AI. So there are different types of AI. So biometrics would be something where the biometrics are involved. It could be used in surveillance, or it could be used for security purposes, or for preventing frauds or intrusions. So that could be one application of AI. Then you have character or word recognition or speech recognition. So that would be something. Let's say there was a technology which had come, which is OCR, that is optical character reader. So we used to number of years back, we used to have those OCR sheets where you used to use a pencil to darken them, darken the answers which in those competitive exams. So those are certainly the one of the AI, the capabilities of AI which can be used to check the answer papers. So that is one application. Then you have speech recognition. You have many softwares in different devices. So you have Siri in Apple devices, which will actually based on your voice, it will recognize and it will act on your questions or your directions. So now why it acts and how it acts is essentially the data. What sort of data is fed into the AI? That is the main driving force behind the AIs. Similarly, you have robots. Robotics category is another category which is used largely in many industries, like even in warehousing and manufacturing places. Robotics are used to segregate different goods. That is one of the applications, and there are many other applications as well. Distributed AI would be something which is a concoction of different capabilities. It could be robotic plus biometric, or it could also include character recognition or speech recognition. So it could be a concoction of different AIs altogether. Application. So as I mentioned, so the application are infinite. It could be any industry. So there are banking and finance industry. So you would recall whenever we call a customer service of any banking or financial institution, you may hear something like you have to give a voice command as to what you want to do. Like let's say I want to get connected with the credit card team, or I want to do banking services. So these are actually AI bots which are implemented in these industries, and they can actually based on the data set which is given to these or embedded in these AIs, they can actually make the customer service process automated. So even when we are chatting, so there are multiple automated options these days, be it the Axis Bank or HDFC Bank or Kotak or any other banking or financial institution for that matter. Then again, there are automatic loan approvals. There are trading or analysis provided by computer generated analysis are there. So those are actually the applications of AI which are there in the market today. Then you have completely different purpose, which is a defense purpose. It can be used for surveillance. There are drones which are there, which are fitted with different, which are embedded with softwares, and they help you in surveillance and security of the nation for the defense purpose. Then you have customer experience. That is another interesting area. So what happens is based on the sort of feedback customers give. So a lot of time we are asked for automatic feedbacks. So that is something which an AI collects, and then based on the feedback received by the customer, you will get different options, or you will get different services. So if let's say you're selected XYZ service or XYZ option for any customer service that you avail, so next time that computer will remember that option, and it will give you that option. Similarly, your search mechanisms. So let's say you search for air conditioners. So it may also suggest you, like a lot of time, it will give you related ads. The computer may populate related ads for that matter, or connected to air conditioners. So that is actually one of the AI based search mechanisms because of which you can see those ads. Again, there is another industry which is pharmaceutical and healthcare, where a lot of time automatic diagnosis takes place, and medical history is actually analyzed by the AI devices, and based on that, it can like help in diagnosis of the patients. And again, the another industry is your retail and e-commerce, where reviews and search algorithms and again recommendations are considered by the user which have been given. And that is another application. There is translation of languages through speech recognitions or text recognition. So you must have noticed there is an option in Google Translation where you just have to point the camera to the language or any other text in any language, and it will automatically convert to the language that you desire. So that is again an application of AI. Again, in telecommunication, there are multiple applications which are there, which are AI enabled. Now, there are a couple of more examples which I'll share. So there is one Microsoft AI system, which is FarmsBeat. It is actually it's a sort of soil sensors coupled with a drone. And what it does is it actually helps you generate data of the soil. So once you have installed the sensors, you have a mobile app which can be used to understand the different values of the soil. So it can tell you about the moisture of the soil, or what are the nutrients in the soil. So it can actually detect. So that is another application in the agriculture industry, and it saves a lot of time, and you are able to analyze the soil based on the AI device, and it will help the farmers do irrigation efficiently and saving a lot of time as well. So that is another application of an AI system. Very interesting example again. So here what is happening is like there is an AI composition system which helps in generating different sorts of perfumes based on the thousands of formulas which are already there. So it will come up with a unique formula for a new perfume. So that is again a very innovative way of AI application. Another application is your speech processing for policy data. So what it does is there are like this is pertaining to the country Uganda. Because what happens is there the most of the communication takes place through the radios. Whatever policy making and policy related things on public discussion, they take place through the radio. So what they have come up with is a speech processing system. So it processes the audio, and then it translates it into any other language, whichever the user wants. So that way, it actually reaches the larger audience. So this is again a very interesting application of AI device in the real world. Now, we see Google Home, and we see there are other applications such as you have the robotic vacuum cleaner these days, or robotic mop, which automatically mops. So they are like we are surrounded with AIs, and for the possibilities of AI are like immense, and it's like infinite. And with those possibilities, obviously there are going to be issues. Recently, we had seen the issue of inventorship and the ownership of AI devices. So what happened was there was an invention by the name of Dabus in South Africa, where the inventor was actually an AI device. So AI device based on an algorithm, it created certain inventions. So the applicant, the real person who was behind, who had created the AI device, he had actually named the AI device as an inventor. And that was the whole point of discussion in South Africa. And ultimately, South Africa actually, the patent office granted the invention in favor of the AI devices. So similar issue arose in Australia, where patent office rejected in favor of the inventor, but then again the High Court on an appeal, it confirmed that AI can be an inventor in an invention. But you had contrary decision in the UK and the European Union and in the US for the same patent of the same applicant. Now, what sort of issues that come up with the AI devices is your capacity as an inventor. So in patent law, there are essentially two types of ownership. So there is ownership and there is inventorship. So ownership can be held by any person. It could be a natural person, it could be a legal person. But inventorship is something which can be held by the true and first inventor under the patent law. Now, true and first inventor, if I have to go by the books, then it has to be the person who has invented the invention. So that is the only person who can directly file the patent, or he can assign it to somebody, or his legal heirs can file on his behalf. So these are essentially the people who can file a patent application. But when you take the case of AI, the practical difficulty that we face is that, first of all, AI does not have legal capacity to enter into contracts. So neither it can assign, nor it can enforce any right, or nor it can be held liable for anything. So ultimately, it has to be the master only that is going to be liable, or it can actually enjoy the rights, or it can enforce the patent. So that is one issue that is going to obviously come up in future as well. It is doing the rounds of discussion right now. That is one. The other issue that is there is the data privacy issue. Now, as I mentioned, that AI is all about data. Whatever data you are inputting, especially in the context of the learning modules. So you have to input as much data as possible. So you have the example of Google Home, you have Alexa, you have Siri. So it's actually, it contains a data. So whatever you ask, like let's say, what is the weather? Can you play this song? Can you run this movie? So all these are data, sort of data which are fed by the users, and a lot of times, and it is actually embedded also. So whatever data is there, that is the heart of the AI invention. So in the future, I'm sure data privacy is going to be the issue, because a lot of time the AI devices capture the personal data. It could also capture sensitive personal data. So as of now, certainly the data protection bill is pending. It is not passed yet, and the existing law does not adequately protect all sorts of data. So this is going to be a very big issue in the coming years, for as per my understanding. Now, I mean, the big question is not what sort of technology that may come up, but yeah, I mean, how we are going to implement the AI technology and the risk and liabilities associated with them. As we see today, we are seeing the issues of inventorship of the IP, and for the ownership of the IP, whether an IP can be held by the AI or not. So these are the issues, and again, data privacy issues. So in the coming years, we may see more issues. So these are the challenges and the like the sort of the AIs that are there in the market. So with this, I conclude, and I'll be very happy to answer any questions that you have.
Yes, sir. So thank you so much there for this extremely insightful session, and a wonderful PowerPoint presentation as well, and the effort that you've put in. So, really very grateful for that. So two quick questions. Number one, as far as artificial intelligence is concerned, so the provisions of the Indian Patent Act, the application would remain the same with respect to artificial intelligence as with regard to vis-a-vis other inventions that take place, or the application is slightly different?
So it is actually, as far as the requirement is concerned, that is your threefold requirement: the novelty, inventive step, and utility. So that requirement is there. Then, keeping in mind these three requirements, you have to see whether the invention is not disqualified under Section 3, which contains a list of inventions which are prohibited. So in this, the relevant one is Section 3K, which talks about the inventions or the computer programs per se which are not patentable. So a computer program which is only doing word processing, so that will not be a patentable as under the Patents Act. But something, generally what happens is, let's say I embed a software with an algorithm, or with sort of data in an AI or in a device. Let's say you have Alexa. So a lot of there is a software component to it where it is performing set of instructions based on the user input. So when I tell Alexa to tell me the weather, so there is a sort of algorithm or sort of information that is fed in the software, and which is embedded in the hardware. So based on those instructions by the user, it gives me the output that the weather is so and so. So what is happening is there is a technical effect or a technical contribution that is taking place here. So in that case, we can consider. But even a software, it need not be connected to a hardware per se for a patent protection to be granted. Even if a software is capable of adding to the contribution to the technical art, or if it is doing any advancement in the technology, in that case also purely software program can be patented. So it can be a search algorithm which is creating a unique search mechanism. So you have fuzzy logic of system of conducting searches, or you come up with a different algorithm of searching which is unique in nature. So that can also be patented. So, but as far as criteria is concerned, that remains the same as per the Patents Act.
And so, coming to our next question, as far as other jurisdictions and other countries are concerned, do we have codified laws with respect to artificial intelligence, or is it the same patent act of that very country that has certain extra provisions with respect to artificial intelligence, or it lays down certain conditions in that for so in so cases there will be a grant of patent to an artificial intelligence, and in so in so cases there will not be one?
So you have the European law, which has a similar, like the Indian law is actually largely borrowed from the Europeans. So the technical effect doctrine, which means that if a technical contribution is being made by a computer software program, then it can be patentable under the law. So that is a similar provision in EU also, which is followed. But largely, all the WTO nations which are party to the TRIPS agreement, they have a minimum threshold which is similar across the countries. So that is something. So as far as the requirement of novelty, patent, inventive step, and utility is concerned, that is uniform across the WTO nations.
And sir, lastly, how do you ensure that there is no threat to security and there is complete transparency as far as artificial intelligence is concerned? Because obviously there is a slight amount of human intervention as far as designing or coding is concerned, but it is ultimately the appliance that takes care of everything.
So that is where the issue lies. I mean, one of the issue of AI is autonomy, and it can. We have seen movies such as Terminators, where the robots actually they became autonomous and they started acting on their own. So obviously, I mean, as far as those issues are concerned, the law is not in place right now. Even data privacy laws are not in place. What sort of information is coming in, going out? That is not protected today. So that has to be considered while implementing the AI technologies.
And sir, one more question, because I'm too tempted to ask this one. As far as opportunities in the field of artificial intelligence in patents law is concerned, what opportunities do they have in the form of internships or any literature that you wish to recommend for them, for law students who wish to study more and more about it? Any internships?
So I think the very good literature would be you have the patents scope, which is the website of WIPO. So there they have a page on artificial intelligence. What sort of technologies are actually there? So they have a category of telecommunication, agriculture, then again security and surveillance. So they have different categories of patents with an AI application. So there are thousands of patents. As I mentioned, there are more than 3 lakhs patents which are pending or which have been granted or filed since many years. So that is one part of it. Then again, in different AI-driven companies, many startups have come in, even which are working on completely on AI devices. So those are the industries which can be targeted for internships in AI technology area.
Very well, sir. So I think more or less we've covered everything as far as artificial intelligence is concerned with respect to patent law, sir. Anything that you wish to say before we wrap this segment, sir?
As I said, so it's an area which comes up with a lot of opportunities and a lot of interesting areas. But yes, I mean the challenges we'll see, and there's a lot of scope as far as protection and of this area is concerned, and also in the day-to-day life we are using AI devices. So and as we have to ensure the data remains protected, and at the same time we have to balance it out with the technologies, because ultimately we will have to take assistance of AI, and it has helped us in many ways in implementing and automation and in different areas. So it has certainly contributed to the the efficiency of human beings. So that thing may be considered.
So a big thank you to you, sir, for taking out time from your busy schedule and doing this session for us. To all the viewers who are watching, our email is mentioned on the channel. In case of any queries with respect to any of the concepts or fundamentals, feel free to write to us, and we'll be more than happy to assist you on the same. So thank you so much, sir, once again. And stay tuned. Next episode is on its way. It's goodbye for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Our pleasure, sir. Thank you, sir, once again.
Thank you.